Airbrushing, so much fun. Trust me, I have been doing airbrushing for a long time now. Ever since 2008, I started with my first little airbrush. It was actually a single action airbrush. Then I soon went off to a double action. And ever since then, I have been airbrushing everything from Luminous all the way to Zaku's. And as you can see, I'm slightly drunk. I have slammed about maybe 4 shots of Fireball and some Coke. So, and Coke isn't Coca-Cola, not drugs, because drugs are bad for you most of the time. Anyway, on that point, as you can see in the title of this video, you, I'm going to be here talking about the differences between using a propellant can for airbrushing versus using a compressor. Everybody has their own opinions, so I'm going to respect that. These are my opinions. This is from my own research and basically doing this firsthand. So, if anybody has any comments or any tips or tricks for people, do them right below. I always have an open mind. I love learning new things. Also, please hit that subscribe button for more cool hobby tips and tricks. I'm going to be, well, myself and Mason, and hopefully some other people will be posting real soon. But that is not the point. Tonight we're talking about compressors, and my God, I can't speak English right now. So, gotta open up my phone because I actually made a script. I know it is amazing, and starting off, I'm gonna go with actually the pros of using a propellant can. So they are very easy to store and they are very easy to transport. Just don't take them on a plane. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would try to take basically one of those things on an airplane. No, just bad. Don't, no. So a compressor can be kind of awkward to transport, and depending on what kind, compressors are different sizes. I've seen compressors from small little compressors all the way to big chunky machines. Mine's about 9 inches squared all around, 9-10 inches. So it's a good size, but more on that later. Usually a propellant can, depending on what brand, what type, all that fun stuff. It's about the same size, width-wise, of a soda can. And the length, I've seen them from maybe 10 inches to maybe 12 inches, giggity. So, now, the next thing that's a pro, this is really good for the beginners out there, you don't have to worry about changing your PSI. And this is kind of a blessing and a curse. And the curse I will talk about later on, but for right now, the blessing is you don't have to worry about, fiddling around with the knobs and switches and all that fun stuff. Actually, I'm not thinking about it, but once everything's plugged in, it's a nice constant pressure while there's enough propellant in the can. Most of the time, people just want to use this just for base coating or even priming. So, you don't have to worry about changing PSIs most of the time. Most of the time. Yet again, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in detail later. They are cheap-ish. When I used to get them, I had the Tesla's can, and they were about yay big, give or take. Well, like yay big around. And they were $10, $12, something like that, but that was, yet again, 12 years ago, give or take. And inflation and all that fun stuff. And yet again, like what I said, I am slightly intoxicated right now, so. The last good thing, to my knowledge, is it's silent. It's basically just a spray paint can. If it's about this, maybe there's really no noise that comes out of it, so you can basically just, like what I said, be silent. So, now, this is when it gets kind of complex. The cons of using a propellant can. You can't change the PSI, and this is when people want to go into more advanced modeling. So, depending on what you want to do, the amount of change with PSI around. From the top of my head, if they want to do very like light airbrush, like if they're, for example, if they're painting like a German tank with the multi camouflage on it, and you kind of want to have like that feathered look on the edges, they want something a little bit more lighter on the PSI scale. So it looks like it was actually like sprayed on than just globbed on, if that makes sense. Um, the other thing is, while we're on the topic of PSI, when the propellant can is close to being empty, the um, the flow, the propellant will actually start to decrease, and it won't have that steady stream of propellant. And when that happens, it's just kind of like a spray paint can. When it's almost empty, you get that splatter effect. And that can be a pain in the butt, to say the least. um, this is really crazy. I kid you not. Maybe this is just because I used the tester's can and I did this outside, and this was usually around like 75 degrees Fahrenheit, 80 degrees Fahrenheit. But, like I said, it's mind blowing. The can actually does frost over. There is actually all there's like a thin layer of frost over the can, and honestly, my career choice, I cannot explain that. I would actually love to know why. Actually, that'd be kind of cool. But it does frost over. You have to do it for long periods of time. And when that happens, you actually have to go and wait and defrost the can. Basically just hold the can. Maybe you don't want to have it like that, but you want to go and make sure the can gets defrosted. Because when the can is frosted up, you can't have that steady, constant flow of propellant. Or propellant will not even come out at all. And I do remember being furious of maybe airbrushing for maybe 5-10 minutes. The can would frost up, and I would have to spend 30 minutes trying to get the bloody thing to actually defrost so I can go and do a couple more sprays. So it was quite annoying yet again. But like what I said, yet again, maybe it was the temperature, maybe it was the brand, maybe I'm just freaking stupid. I think honestly it's gonna be the last one, more than likely. So the other thing is the price of the propellant cans over time. For people who want to use this often, like how I do, even if a can doesn't frost over, even if I don't have to worry about that decreasing propellant PSI splatter, I cannot tell you how many things I've airbrushed. To be honest with you, I have airbrushed so many Imperial Guard armored vehicles, Gundams, and I actually use my airbrush to actually prime my models on top of that. So all my little figurines and whatnot. So $10 a can I can maybe prime and maybe do like 3 colors, and maybe it might be a whole can. Like what I said, I used to use a can back in 2009, that time period. So I don't really remember an exact number. So moving on into the compressor, using a compressor. Now, you don't need something crazy. You don't need to go out and spend $500 on a compressor. Okay, so the first pro would be it is cost effective. So kind of like what I was just saying a second ago, I actually got lucky with my compressor. I bought it from a hobby store, Hobby Lobby, for the people in America. I got it on sale for $60. But usually they can get them on Amazon for maybe like $120 US. They just have to do your research. There might be a better brand. Well, I have like a generic brand, to be honest with you. But it's been working like non-stop since like 2009 with no issues at all. But yet again, do your research. Find out what's the best compressor for you. if you do want to go the compressor route. So, like I was saying earlier, another pro is it can change the PSI. It can be daunting at first, but the general rule of thumb, depending on what paint you're using, I use acrylics, and depending on what you're using to thin down your paint, or if you are using a retardant, and retardant as in the artsy way of making sure that the paint is not drying as fast. It will slow down the paint from drying. I remember, just a side note, I said that in another video and I got blasted because people thought I was using it in a bad way. But, so I just want to go and throw that out there. Most of the time, for me, I go about 20 psi, 15 to 20 psi. And again, depending on what paint I'm using, depending on what ratios, because depending on what paints you use, might have to use different ratios. And I'll cover that in another video, actually. And the other good thing is the PSI will actually be constant. You don't have to worry about after painting 3, T72 tanks in 1/35 scale that all of a sudden it's just gonna start, their paint's gonna start just splattering, and then you have this huge mess on your hands. So as long as the airbrush is working properly, as long as the hose is, doesn't have any holes or any bad kinks or bends in it, it's going to be flowing out at nice constant pressure. And the most important thing, it doesn't frost over. If it does, that is something that would be, I do not know what to say about that. Yeah. So now, there's actually 3 cons. It's the price, and yet again, I've actually just went on Amazon quickly to look at some compressors, and they're about $120 And I know there's some people out there that they were able to spend that $100 on adding to the pile of plastic shame. Don't want to throw any hands, don't want to throw any shade at people, but that's their opinion. Me, on the other hand, I'd rather be a little more cost effective to actually be able to go and just get the stuff that I have done. The other good thing, the other bad thing, the opposite of good, is the noise. I've only dealt with my compressor. That's the big thing I need to go and actually tell people, say, is I've only dealt with my compressor for airbrushing. Okay? I've got an air compressor for my Jeeps when I go off-roading, but like something a little bit more bigger and beefier, and I don't think using an air compressor used for filling up tires would be a good idea for an airbrush. Actually, what did I even... Anyway, mine is kind of noisy. It's not so noisy that they need to wear earplugs or anything like that, but you might, if they're listening to something, you might have to turn up the volume a teeny bit. And depending on if you're living with anybody, they might not like to hear that compressor chugging along when it's 2 a.m. Yeah. And last but not least, it's the size. Like what I said earlier, compressors come in different sizes. Some are small, some are big. Mine, like what I said, it's 9 inches in a square shape. And I do have a small hobby room. My modeling stuff is very compact, so it does take up some space, but it's not too bad. So, basically, just to round up this video, I think an airbrush is one of the biggest things that I tell people to get all the time. If you want to get serious in this hobby, I think an airbrush, if you can get one, is one of the biggest, coolest things to get. Okay, it will save you time, it will save you money, and it will just save you just frustration, because it can get kind of daunting to go and paint. It's much easier painting a lumen rust or a 1/35 scale tank or even a Master Drake Gunpla model with an airbrush just to base coat it. And if they want to get really complex, they can start doing shading, pre-shading, all that fun stuff. But that's going to be in a different video. But connected together to the airbrush, I've always told people to get a compressor. Don't go and spend your money. Don't spend your time on getting propellant cans. Just spend that extra $90. Don't buy another freaking Land Raider. Hold off on the Land Raider. Hold off on that 5th, 6th generation Gundam Unicorn, perfect grade, shiny thing. Don't spend your money on that 1/16th scale Tiger 1 from Tamiya, which I would love, actually. It'd be so cool. But at the end of the day, that's my opinions. I know I'm kind of looking at, kind of off camera, because there's my laptop right there, and I don't know why I want to look at my face. But, guys, like what I said, hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions, comments, blah, 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 those comments. Also, check us out on TikTok. We try to go and post some kind of hobby video snap thing because we want to be cool and fly almost every other day, give or take, depending on how busy we are. So, till next time, guys, get yourself painted, have a great night, and I want to go get drunk and paint some models because I don't have a good control of my life right now.